Rush with some cheeky bants.
Always.
Being directed the way of Golden.
A Rush signature. You know, welcoming them both back to the league. I appreciate that. It's very sportsmanlike. As Zoe and Kindred will be the first two bans on either side.
Yeah, Kindred being taken off, pretty interesting here. It is a pick that has been getting some more popularity ever since they did the AD item revamp. Certainly can be pretty strong coming out of the jungle. And though it is Vladimir kind of more known for the pick on C9, Svenskeren also very strong at it.
Yeah, he's played it this split already. Ooh, a Yasuo ban. That's a tip to the hat for GoldenGlue this week, who did play in Academy. And Thresh also joining in away from Hakuho. Jace actually getting yet another ban here. Been surprisingly popular ban on the blue side today.
Yeah, people really just not willing to kind of first pick it, and they feel like, hey, I don't want to actually give it over, even if I don't want to make my whole game plan about it. And I think it's a pretty game warping pick because it is kind of committing you to playing that split push style. And you often see C9 wanting to go for more of a kind of chaotic group up, team fights being forced constantly, and that's not really the pick to do it with. So will be Galio being locked in first, very likely going to be Galio support. Zeyzal has certainly been prioritizing it pretty highly. And I think it's a smart response to take the J4 away, not allow that to go over to Svenskeren, because that combo is very, very powerful. It's also just a strong individual pick that Rush is going to be able to grab out here. And I always favor Braum kind of in that support matchup as far as the laning power. I do think that Braum can have the advantage, especially when paired alongside a strong laning marksman.
Also seems like after quite a lot of deliberation that Rek'Sai is the decision here for Cloud9, so Svenskeren will take that one into battle for this game.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a way in for the Galio. One of my criticisms of Cloud9 when they have been drafting the Galio is they don't always draft a lot of easy targets for Galio to kind of follow up on. They have early Vayne. Lucian's still on the table, so this could be Lucian Braum into Vayne Galio, and certainly you're going to heavily favor the 2v2 of that Lucian Braum. We'll see if Apollo and Hakuho are willing to play that out, if they are feeling confident. Could be the Jinx, which would be more of kind of matching late game power. You know, not necessarily trying to dominate in the lane, but Jinx certainly can have a fairly stable lane and then is really dominant in the late game stages, especially because of all the range that you do have with those rockets. We've seen Wild Turtle be very effective alongside that pick. But it is Jinx into a Galio as well as the Rek'Sai, and this could lead Cloud9 to trying to draft more dive, more kind of backline assassins and people who can kind of get back there and really get on top of the Jinx where she can struggle.
Feels like both marksmen kind of staring at some scary threats here between the Braum and Jarvan on the Fox side. Also, Vayne will have to watch out. Some mages going to get banned away here in Phase 2 though. Ryze banned on the Fox side and LeBlanc banned on the C9 side.
Yeah, very interesting so far to see this draft. I mean, Sneaky certainly is his first Vayne pick of the season. He has not a lot of Vayne games all time, even just all time for Sneaky, only 5 plays on the Vayne, and that's including international play. Likewise for Apollo, he actually only has 1 Jinx game in his entire career. So that is certainly 2 guys bringing out these picks, but not a lot of experience in pro on them. Certainly they are powerful solo queue picks, so they are going to get a lot of their practice in there and in scrims and whatnot, but definitely not known for these style of picks.
There's also the Syndra ban for Fox, so both mid laners continuing to trade picks. We'll see if maybe even something as far-fetched as Orianna gets taken away here just to diminish the pool, but I think Cloud9 will settle on Lissandra, so kind of a different mage, and I think Liquid did show last game that the flexibility is there to run that in either solo lane.
Yeah, and a lot of CC gank assists kind of for all of these mid laners or potential mid laners that could come through. It is going to be a Vladimir, which has been much more popular top lane these days, especially into some of the melee matchups where you can bully, even going things like Klepto, where you are really just kind of farming off of that guy, trying to escalate your kind of ramp up towards late game. This is 9.5, so Akali has been rebuffed back up. Is not nearly as powerful as it was in the past, but certainly a strong pick and gonna get locked in here, it looks like. And GoldenGlue is a guy who had been playing it in the past. We don't yet know if this is top or mid because Akali is another flex that at least was being played by both Licorice and Niski and some of their mid laners and whatnot in the past, so certainly could be going to either lane.
I think GoldenGlue the kind of player that just plays so much solo queue, man. Like, he's always on top of what picks are kind of current. Akali's certainly a champion that has come back into the meta somewhat. And as you said, Licorice can also play it. There's the Aatrox, so some of that flexibility is staying strong here. Cloud9 trying to get some sort of advantage on blue side here in the draft.
Yeah, I am expecting them to put the Aatrox into Vladimir. That is a very Aatrox favored matchup early on, because Aatrox does have, that, I can't even, Deathbringer stance, I believe is what it's called. The passive
Stabby
hit.
Stance.
Exactly. You stab them, it has a healing debuff on it, and you do have a lot of early game pressure that you can kind of just chase down this Vladimir and play very aggressively towards him. Vladimir really struggles in extended trades, and Aatrox is someone that can stick to you, not only with the Infernal Chains, but also dashing on top. So I do think that they are going to try to put Licorice on the Aatrox up in that top lane, and it will be GoldenGlue going into Fenix on his Azir. Legendary for the pick. This is, I would say, his signature champion, though it hasn't been brought out a lot in the past. And when you look at this Echo Fox composition, holy God, is that a scary teamfight late game. Like, that is insane scaling with Vladimir, Jinx, and Azir. With the Braum and J4 frontline, you have the Vladimir dropping the ultimate, amping damage from two of the most powerful hyper carries in the game. That is not something I would want to 5v5 against if I was Cloud9 late stages of the game. So Cloud9 will want to try to push the pace, find picks with this Galio plus Akali plus Rek'Sai, diving in and maybe even split pushing with the Vayne and trying to get their edges earlier and in scrappier fights and split push situations.
I'm glad you mentioned the Galio Akali though, because you said that you want to see Cloud9 maybe draft a few more ways to get the Galio into the backline. Certainly have options there as well. Very curious to see what happens here as both GoldenGlue and Rush return to the LCS stage. For GoldenGlue, it will be his first go-around this year. For Rush, see if he can tip the balance here for Echo Fox, who have had their fair share of struggles this season.
Definitely have. As you said, winless in the second half. We are in week 8, so they are on certainly quite the streak of losses and trying to right that ship. If they want to have a chance of getting to playoffs, it's got to start here.
For Cloud9, it's just trying to lock up that bye. Continue the good work that they've been doing all split long, just on the heels of Team Liquid, it feels like. And it is for Fenix, Hail of Blades Azir.
Very interesting stuff. I mean, it is a champion that can kind of back off and reset the Hail of Blades fairly easily, and you will be able to get a tremendous amount of poke damage out with that early couple attacks. You have your soldier down, you queued onto them, and you try to get 3 quick autos essentially down for a very powerful trade, or even potentially an all-in later on. So we'll see how that works out for him.
It's a fairly one-note keystone. Like, if you're taking Hail of Blades, it's to, like, attack people early and often. So really, like, we've seen it on Kalista, who is a champion that usually not considered that good in the early game, but can be very successful if you're able to proc it consistently and pressure your opponent. So, I mean, Fenix, you can see his career stats there, 15-6, 5.2 KDA in his LCS career. And this is the player for me on Echo Fox that has been consistently performing well week in, week out, despite the changes around him. So on this sort of champion, this is a game where Fenix can really show why he was so feared on this pick so long ago.
I completely agree, but that being said, if Cloud9 can get into a split push style situation, maybe you just kind of avoid Fenix the whole game, even if he is having a good game. So that's always something you have to work against. And with the Hail of Blades, it is very powerful upfront damage, but you have to remember you have to get out of combat for it to actually reset and that to come back up, which is one of the big reasons that a lot of players don't like using it. Is simply something like lethal tempo, if you're staying in combat nonstop, can sometimes be more effective. But a lot of interesting keystone choices here that are worth talking about. Licorice going Comet, that is for, you can actually hit confirm that when you do have your Q and actually get the knock up. The Comet will always land on the Vladimir, and you can see Vladimir is going to be going phase rush, not Klepto, as this is a tougher matchup, and you want to be able to kite out. It's also especially effective if you can proc that to run out of the Infernal Chains and not get pulled back in.
Makes sense, as we'll check in with the bot lane. It's back-to-back Vayne games here in the LCS.
It's a new day.
He's like, you know what, that looked pretty good. I'll give it a go, as Rush already invading, looking for this red buff, but it does seem like both junglers are operating vertically right now, so should be a trade when all's said and done.
Yep, and that means that Cloud9 should have priority on the top side of the map, whereas it should be Echo Fox running things on the bottom side of the map, and that's what you have to kind of play with respect to, right? Sometimes you despite what your 2v2 or 1v1 matchup is, you don't get to play it the way you want to because the jungler could show up at any moment.
See Licorice stacking up a nice wave as Rush continues to move through the C9 jungle.
He's actually waiting for those minions to pass that little gap, and then very likely he's going to go over to farm out those Krugs. So that is just a small play, but that is making so that they can't actually see him on vision. This is something very smart from Rush that you should certainly be incorporating into your solo queue games, making sure you're watching on the minimap and you can't see their minions, but you can see where yours are, and they will always be at parity, so you should know at what point you can actually walk out and still avoid giving over that intel.
Rush does get spotted here by Zeyzal, who will look to finish off the rest of the camp, but Rush does get the majority of it after finishing the first few stages of the Krug, so still successful, goes back and fires up his Chilling Smite, is now upgraded there.
Yeah, you can also see Apollo sitting on Cleanse and Lethal Tempo. That to me is very much for the team fight. Lethal Tempo, generally not super effective in the laning phase, but with your passive, giving you the move speed and you getting all this attack speed from Lethal Tempo, if you can actually get a kill and start to reset, you can have absurd amounts of DPS coming out. Cleanse also much more focused towards that team fight and being able to avoid some of the lockdown that could potentially come in the form of a dive from the Galio.
Licorice there onto Solo, as you mentioned, that Q confirming the comment, so good bit of poke there as Solo does enter into empowered Q.
Yeah.
Now Vlad is hanging out and farming things.
It's also going to get a little bit scarier for the Vlad as the wave is pushing away from him, so he's going to have to kind of have eyes on the Rek'Sai or potentially could get ganked. It's also going to be worth tracking if Licorice is going to go for something like an early Executioners to really try to, kind of punish this matchup and try to play aggressively onto Solo, or if he just wants to build more for the team fight, go to something like that with Black Cleaver.
Find out in short order. For now, it's just continued trading back and forth. Also see GoldenGlue trying to get things pushed up in the lane. Fenix is finally running low on mana. Usually the gate for Azir as far as consistent wave clear goes. Fenix does have this next wave pushing through, and actually a pretty decent looking CS lead for himself that has been able to build up by pushing out the wave so quickly early on.
And that is going to allow them, because they had their jungler playing bots out of map, because they had priority to start up this early dragon, but C9 not willing to give that over. Early Ocean's so incredibly powerful for your laning phase, so Cloud9 will try to push this out, and now you can see Zeyzal is trying to kind of play zoning duty while Sneaky shoves up his wave.
Yep, again, just wanting to create some room, force Fox back to their lane so that you can keep things going. GoldenGlue flips over the Phoenix, wants to get on top of the Azir to try and deal damage, but doesn't get too much done there. Thankfully, doesn't take too many soldier autos either. On the other side, as Rush back into the Drake pit will slap down the control ward.
Yeah, I'm going to try to maintain control of that area, and if they can actually get a shove, then hey, maybe you can start it up. If Svenskeren shows on the top side of the map for a gank, maybe you can start it up. So trying to keep the option open and at least be able to threaten that towards the side of Cloud9. But for now, it is just kind of a farming style game. You can see the advantage is slightly in the favor of Cloud9 thanks to CS advantage in the top lane mostly.
Yeah, lane's just getting a bit more done early for now. Continuing to try and harass this Vladimir, but as you mentioned already, Fox certainly playing the scaling game here in this one, so no alarm bells ringing just yet. It's been all relatively peaceful, given everything here, as the team's just trying to maneuver around. I actually like the early Drake start there for Rush, just to kind of check things out, but both teams quickly realizing that that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, not going to be able to grab it just yet, but we'll see if they are going to be able to later on. And it's just Caulfield start here for Licorice. We do see a lot of players just kind of going Caulfields into Black Cleaver, and then you take 10% CDR from your runes with Transcendence, and then you're on a quick 40. CDR being so incredibly strong on the Aatrox really can get you to a very powerful stage, but it is Svenskeren starting this up, and with Phoenix having gone back to base, with the bot lane trying to push up right here, Licorice has TP and has already bought. This likely is just going to be Cloud9's Dragon, so going to be feeling really good about that advantage for the rest of the laning phase.
Yep, just pick a nice timing. Svenskeren sneaks into the back of the pit by tunneling around the ward that Fox have in the river, and then GoldenGlue joins in at the end just to make sure everything goes down.
Yeah, I mean, all the regen that does give you really does make it the most powerful early game Dragon, bar none, so certainly going to be feeling really good about that. It makes it incredibly difficult to actually get poked out. It makes it so you are not going to be as dependent on those resources. And yes, there are 3 champions on the top side of the map for Cloud9 that don't depend on mana, so it's maybe not as powerful as usual, but still just taking it away from your opponents who are going to be more dependent on that can be very strong, even just itself.
Well, Phoenix did complete that base, which kind of opened up the space there for the Drake, but is certainly looking to dominate lane. Sork Shoes has kind of the first major item and double Dorans straight away. just versus that revolver plus some brown boots there for GoldenGlue.
Yeah, so likely not going to be building into a man item. When you go double Dorans, that is kind of your pseudo catalyst or lost chapter or that sort of thing. So we'll see if he's going to try to go towards something like a Nashor's, which would be, I think, kind of the expected path. And having the early Sword Boots should give him some more burst power and also the ability to kind of navigate that lane a bit more easily with that move speed.
Rush and Sven also almost meeting in the river, but looks like, again, just some continued coverage here as Licorice is continuing to push up. Actually already has a plate done there in the top lane. Joins Svenskeren, collects the honey fruit, and that crab goes over to Sven as well. So Gold's kind of tied back up. Some of those CS leads are dropping off. The team's just kind of play a very quiet first 10 minutes here.
And it's kind of just a race to CDR in this matchup, which you have Fiendish Codex plus the Kindle Gem as just an ult to actually interrupt the recalls. So that's actually pretty nice. They're going to be able to get a lot of damage down here. With the Jarvan flag plus the passive stacked up here from Jinx in the minigun form, you have a lot of attack speed, and 2 early turret plates going to be feeling pretty good. Apollo will now take the time to try to get a recall if you breed out too much.
Ooh, whoop. GoldenGlue uses the first ult there, gets a stun, and gets back over the wall, but don't think Fenix is really in range. Does have barrier up as well.
Yeah.
Early ult trade here in mid, but both mid laners stay safe.
Yep, not too big of a deal there on either side, as you say, just the early ult trade. We do have Svenskeren in the area, so could potentially look for something if he decides to come up. You can see that the Galio is moving up here now too, and Zeyzal is sitting at level 6, so does have the ultimate available. That's something that Echo Fox is certainly going to have to track and be very careful about.
Certainly looked cool, but GoldenGlue eating soldier autos as Fenix is trying to get this next wave pushed in and extend his CS lead a little bit more. There's also Hakuho behind him. Licorice does get damage out onto solo. Huge chunk there on the next auto.
I mean, you can see Aatrox certainly is going to be running this lane and can continue to do so for quite some time. But Vladimir, at a certain point, when you have enough CDR, you're going to be able to sustain. You're going to be able to just constantly heal it up. And once you have your Proto Belt, which we're assuming that Kindle Gem will be going into, it makes it a lot easier to wave clear out as well. But he's looking for a potential dive even.
Does get the chain latch, forces out the Hemo Plague. Rush is here, we know that.
That was actually just great from Licorice. He feigns as though he's going to do the dive, gets the ultimate out of solo, and that sets up for an actual potential dive now that he doesn't have that cooldown. So certainly solo going to have to be on the back foot a little bit more here, even if it doesn't result in anything. It's still a nice bit of pressure from Licorice and navigating the matchup quite well, up nearly 20 CS.
We'll see if he stays. Looks like he will for now. A solo thinking that he needs to take it back after losing most of his health. Apollo also eats some Winds of War damage. That's farming up just fine right now with those 2 early AD items. Sneaky also moving into his first item. Has that Blade of the Ruin King on the way with that Village Water done. Chains will miss there up against solo.
Svenskeren has really been getting basically all the scuttles, and certainly thanks in part to his team moving around, but he has been prioritizing that quite a lot, and that really is why he has kind of that gold lead there. So we'll see what exactly the plan is going to be for Svenskeren, for Licorice, as it is an early Ghost Blade, so certainly more of that kind of assassin-style power. Getting the early lethality can be very effective against this Vlad, so it wasn't the rush to Black Cleaver, as is certainly more traditional, but Svenskeren in the area here if they did go forward, and both these lanes just kind of farming it up. It is very likely going to be Blade of the Rune King into Black, or rather into Rage Blade here for the Vayne, and Apollo working on his IE, but he's quite a bit up in farm now.
You can also see that Svenskeren did pull off from that potential play, but Rush flag and direct over onto a ward, so Cloud9 know to play it with a bit more safety on this side for now.
Yeah, and it is somewhat expected, to be fair. I think in this matchup, Jinx Braum should be having more power. I always feel like Galio is a fairly weak laning support, and Jinx certainly has a pretty heavy range advantage, plus a little bit of the jungle pressure that could come down from Rush is going to mean a nice little edge there for Apollo, and oh, Smitey to 1.
There actually is the ulti used over the wall there for Rush, and that's first blood there for Sven.
Really nicely done, as Sven actually ulting under that, as you say, avoiding that Phoenix ultimate coming through. They press in, they don't get the blue buff, but they do get the first blood, and it's going to mean another dragon for them. So the first meaningful advantage really coming out now for Cloud9.
It's a flavor win for me. Tunnels under the wall to escape it makes sense, but of course, the first blood and the second Mountain Drake, the real prize there for C9.
Yeah, and I think it's good also to get more of that pressure on the bottom side, as it is the IE now completed for Apollo, and mid lane have been doing well. Licorice getting pressured heavily. That's all back up. They're trading.
Pops Worldender. Hemo Plague is going to go off there. Licorice will have to resurrect. Good stopwatch there from Solo. Worldender, how far away is it from running out? He does resurrect in time, but Solo going to run forward. Probably just means a trade there, but that looked close. Solo played that quite well.
Yeah, he did play that very, very well, and as that all came back up, he had the early Stork boots by, so no magic resistance on the side of Licorice, and able to get a lot of damage down there. I wonder if Solo could have let the ult expire, then save that transfusion to kill him afterwards, but he wanted to play it safe and make sure he was healing up and couldn't potentially get burst down. So it is, in the end, just the trade of ults as both players healing it back up, and here is the invade one more time. Rush smiting this down to 1 HP. It does go to Fenix, but the double knockup, very well done by Svenskeren. Ults right as the ult was coming out from Fenix, avoiding that. The ult from Rush coming in too late, so that does not complete either. They get the first blood.
Worth noting that GoldenGlue did flash at the end there. Maybe wondering if there wasn't enough damage from the Rek'Sai ult to secure the kill, so he's without that summoner for the time being. Has his Gunblade finish though, thanks to the assist money, so he'll certainly take it, all things considered. Also there on your screen, that turret gold, pretty close between the two sides, and that is reflected in the gold lead here. Cloud9 up, but it's under 1,000 gold, so it does feel like there's a lot more play skill in a game that's developed quite slowly here, almost up to 15 minutes, and really apart from those two Drakes, that's, I think, the only tangible advantage I can really speak to right now.
Yeah, it's pretty atypical for Cloud9 games. They are generally a team that plays pretty aggressive, as Licorice, remember, has no ultimate up just yet. Solo, with all that CDR, getting a lot done here, and now he's going to have to back off. Rush coming in.
Rush, yeah, there's the flash slow for Solo after the E.
Transfusion might do
flash. Needs to keep running, not quite in range, pops the pull and can't quite find him.
Not quite able to get him, but they do zone him off. It's Svenskeren looking for the counterattack.
Under Apollo again, looking for the ulti, pops it. Goodbye, Apollo. Dive under the turret. Svenskeren able to grab it. And now Hakuho in stasis under the tower, but Sneaky gonna keep putting the shots in. Zeyzal tanking as long as he can. Great condemn there from Sneaky for the stun, and he'll collect the kill.
Yeah, really well played. 3v2 dive. They get the summoners out. They get both kills as well and survive to tell the tale. Really nice juggling of the aggro there by the Cloud9 squad, and despite the fact that Licorice is pushed off, Cloud9 get way more on the bottom side. They're also going to get the turret, and now it is GoldenGlue's turn to get involved in the mid lane.
Yep, starting to try and trade with Fenix a bit more aggressively with that Gunblade. As you can see, Solo also doing the same in his matchup now that he feels he's got a bit more strength 1v1 versus the Aatrox, but the early turret goes to Cloud9. That actually is a 3,000 gold lead all of a sudden gifted over to them thanks to their passage of play.
Yep, I mean, there's a lot of an advantage kind of pushed over their side, as you say. The pressure was put up top for Equifox, but they didn't get much out of it besides just pressure. Licorice is still up, you know, a decent bit of farm. You know, he will have to head back up to the top side to kind of collect this. They're actually going to call for the lane swap, but here this is one more time as Svenskeren knows Rush's top side, sees him on the map, in he goes, flash, knocks up. There's the cleanse flash very quickly out from Apollo, so it's a good response for him, but Zeyzal there to follow that up, hits him with the taunt flash, tanks as many turret shots as possible, and then Sneaky with that true damage, with the silver bolts coming through, able to knock down and get that last kill.
Very well played there for C9 on the dive. Back out around the left-hand side of the map. Rift Herald still up and available. The teams want it.
And this advantage now for Svenskeren is becoming pretty huge when you're comparing, you know, these two players here. Looking at the gold of those two junglers, that is a significant edge. You know, that is closing in on 2K early on just in the jungle position, which, you know, it's pretty rare to see those sorts of leads. Rush definitely going to be in tough if he runs into Svenskeren. He is, to his credit, going the more supportive style build, so he is going full tank. But Svenskeren going to be able to have a lot of power on the map right now to duel as he's sitting on Black Cleaver Warrior.
Certainly so, as the fight is brewing pretty quickly here around the Rift Herald. Svenskeren trying to drag it out far to see if they can get up without any sort of engagement. GoldenGlue also looking for a flank here on the top right-hand side. Not spotted just yet. Looks like he'll have to go back around.
And they are kind of zoned out of mid lane, so you could just run straight to mid lane and drop the Rift Herald for that turret. I think that's what they're going to actually do here. So yeah, smart play from Cloud9. They know that Echofox is actually zoned out to the top side of the map. Now he's going to try to stand in between them and scare them away from getting back to that turret, but very likely will be a Cloud9 turret, or at least a lot of damage down on it here.
It's like a big chunk, but not quite enough to take down the turret as Fenix and Rush are able to stop that, but it doesn't stop. There's an ult there. GoldenGlue looking for the assassination under the turret. Doesn't want to go too far. Has he splashed, but decides.
He wants it, but it's competitive. You know if that's solo queue, he's going for it. And instead, they will take away the blue buff. GoldenGlue grabs that. They're already starting up the dragon. You know, taking the safer play. You pushed out Rush. The dragon is yours, so there's no need to really risk it. Your bot lane is holding up top just fine, so things looking very good for Cloud9 across the board.
Continuing to build their lead here, but Fox are looking to answer as Apollo getting online with that IE. Looking to shove down some more turrets here and continue to apply pressure. Sneaky still looking for item number 2. You talked about it last game with Double. It really does need the Rage Blade to kind of kick things off.
Yeah, Rush is around, but he's very low, so I don't think they're going to want to go in. We will see, though. I mean, despite the fact that Cloud9 has taken all the dragons, does have the advantages, it's not like this is a triple Infernal lead by any means. Double Ocean is very nice, and Mountain does help you get more access to the Baron, and we saw how effective Vayne can be at actually knocking that down, so that just gets easier. But that being said, if Echofox can find that 5v5, I think you can easily win a 5v5 from this current deficit, because Vladimir, Azir, and Jinx are 3 of the best scaling team fighters in the game. And then you have the initiation in that front line with the Braum and the J4. So certainly not out of this by any means, and they're going to be happy to try to play it safe and play for a late game. Where Cloud9, I think, you know, they're going to be fine going late, but it's more about, I think, playing side lane, looking for picks, trying to be more of a skirmish style than a straight up front to back 5v5.
And that has been one of their calling cards, I think. I think in either case, it's either win skirmishes or win team fights. They are a very fight-heavy team, most certainly. But I have to agree that Fox still looking, you know, 15, 20 minutes in the future from here and saying, hey, if the game is still in this state, we're probably pretty happy with that. Solo also now getting run down by an Executioner's Calling, so that 1v1 a little bit easier now for Licorice to access, and GoldenGlue also flips over the wall with the Shuriken. Not enough chase. In fact, Rush and Fenix behind means that GoldenGlue cannot continue.
Yep, so he's just going to be able to back it out, but certainly it does get scary in those long lanes because the extended trades plus the healing debuff is going to mean it's very difficult for Vladimir to come out on top in those long lanes. We'll see how Solo is going to try to navigate that, as when you're down in 1v1 pressure and you're also down in jungle pressure, that does make it a pretty tough situation. But they still have farm leads in mid and bot. You can see already the second item coming in here for Apollo. He's going to grab the Hurricane, which I think is a great buy because there are 4 melee champions on Cloud9. So there's a very high chance of having the kind of optimal situation where you're actually getting those Hurricane bolts on multiple members. And in those situations, by far the most effective Zeal item.
Makes sense as Rush looking for some sort of initiation with Hakuho, but it is a 3v3 currently here on the top side of the map. Licorice again going in onto Solo, who already popped World Ender, but the Hemo Plague did pop down. That will be a resurrect there for Solo. Licorice trying to turn it back around, but Solo with the Proto Belt forces Licorice's flash.
Yeah, very, very close. And Solo, matchup be damned, he's playing this great. Being able to go toe-to-toe here with Licorice, even with that Executioner's. Solo coming out on top, forcing the additional summoner to be popped there by Licorice.
GoldenGlue here in onto Fenix, does get the zap of the Gunblade, but there's Svenskeren already ulted over.
Oh my god,
and he's
damage.
Almost dead. That Azir turret helping out. The stopwatch will protect him, but he will be forced to flash as well.
Yeah, that is pretty costly when that is, all things considered, that's a 3v1. He gets stopwatch and a flash out and sends the jungler back to base. So really well done there by Fenix, utilizing the passive turret, being able to kind of keep himself safe there. And now Apollo showing off the sieging prowess of Jinx. You have that long range and you can get access with the minigun. You shred through those things.
GoldenGlue trying to threaten, and Sneaky also has his second item finished, so both marksmen are in a good position to win these fights if they start them on their terms. But it does feel like Fox, who we were maybe expecting to scale later than this point. Already now at 22.5 minutes, feel like they have the items to start fighting, at least in some of these individual matchups.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, you can see a lot of the second items coming through. Luden's going to be here probably pretty soon for Fenix, so he did go Nashor's first, but then into Luden's. It's going to give you your 40% CDR as well as a lot of mana to kind of back that up. And looks like Xbox threatening a fight here.
Ooh, Zeyzal onto the traps. Not sure I fancy that one. He's going to be forced to flash away, but now he's left the rest of his team caught out. That is a kill onto Sneaky. Now Zeyzal with a taunt. Will find it, but he's going to get killed right after that. Hakuho low, but he flashes out to safety. It's here solo with a flank. Svenskeren dives back and he does kill Braum, but it's just a death by the looks of things. As GoldenGlue is going to try and make something happen, but Azir knocks him back around. The Hemo Plague is there. The stasis is only going to delay his inevitable death. And Fox find a team fight and 4 kills.
That was an absolutely massive throw from Cloud9 as Echofox are going to be gifted the Baron. Zeyzal was out scot-free and he just goes straight back in, right onto the Jinx choppers. Then not only that, it's like a bad karate movie. C9 is walking in one at a time trying to take the fight. All of them dying. I mean, I think once you see how bad that goes, you need to bail out. This should not have been a fight at all. Cloud9 just needs to back away. Zeyzal, what are you doing Justice punching back in? When it's 2v4, you can see the situation. Then Sneaky's gonna get caught out as a result. He goes in. At this point, why even try to take the fight? You know, Zeyzal is clearly gonna go down. Licorice is getting surrounded. He's gonna go down. GoldenGlue still opts into this fight. This is now essentially, you know, a 2v4 while Svenskeren is running away. I just don't see really the situation in which that is a positive play for GoldenGlue even. So Cloud9 feels like they fully committed to what was a terrible fight and certainly a big mistake from Zeyzal. They are now down in gold after leading this whole game. You gave the extremely strong late game comp multiple kills and Baron and map control. You may have just thrown the game.
Maybe. He gives him the Cloud Drake as well. Echofox looking to surge ahead in gold after that blunder from Cloud9.
I mean, look at Apollo. He's on 3 items now. If you cannot actually get onto this guy, you are going to get destroyed. Late game is here at 24 minutes as Jinx hits 3 items. Vladimir is on 2.5. 2 fully completed for the Azir. These guys are going to be monstrously strong. So Cloud9 going to have to work some magic here, but really, they don't have the most powerful engage. It's got to be kind of like a tunnel in from Svenskeren plus the Galio ult or GoldenGlue flanking or something along those lines.
They kind of have to patch it all together onto Solo right now, who pops the Hemo Plague in pool. GoldenGlue getting low. Solo in a stopwatch perfectly uses the Zhonya's. Here comes Zeyzal, though. GoldenGlue does take down Solo, and now Hakuho is going to get caught out and taunted to death. Sneaky flashes out of the rest of the engages. Hakuho is actually going to live through that all. Now Sneaky caught up by the Jinx. Apollo just shoots him down.
The reset, he could go for more.
Here comes Fenix again, flashing forward, looking for the slows. Can't quite get another kill again. Surging the soldiers forward, trying to find it, but Cloud9 just have to run.
Yeah, they've got to run, and that means they're going to cede control over mid lane, where there is still a cannon here. To be able to actually get access to that turret, they're going down the bottom side as well to push this in. It is the 1-for-1 trade, but it is Echofox with the Baron buff who are going to be able to pressure these turrets, and Cloud9 on the back foot once more. If Apollo had flashed for that fight, that could have been an absolute disaster. He was pretty close to just exploding in that fight. And now Cloud9 are trying to corral these members. They're trying to come from behind and take down Fenix and Rush.
Cloud9 never stop fighting onto Fenix. Next, there's the shutdown for GoldenGlue. Rush, though, he's going to get chased down by the Void Rush, and Svenskeren able to bite him to death.
Svenskeren doing his damnedest to not let this game slip away. 4-0-3. 100% KP on this Rek'Sai. Has been a monster, getting a couple kills for them there as well. A nice response from Cloud9, and it does buy them some more leeway in this game. As we watch this one more time, Solo on the side here, getting a lot of damage down before he does eventually go down. And you can see Apollo, good positioning over the wall, just firing these rockets out. But Apollo does back off, has to be wary of that Galio ultimate, and Zeke kind of pressuring on the side, is forced to flash out. And then kind of walking into the pick, rallying himself a little bit here, means he's going to get chased down by Apollo. And Apollo, if he had flash in this situation, it's like 2 autos on a lot of those members. Maybe you can get the full ace. Instead, Cloud9 will get away and end up getting a couple more kills on the back end of that fight, but it is a couple turrets going the way of Echofox, and still a very close game.
Feels like given where the game was, don't get too much after that play there from Cloud9. So Fox will stay with their lead. The Baron buff has worn off. They're about plus 3k on the Baron power play. And now up about 1,000 gold or so. Another fight is brewing though, of course, as GoldenGlue flips over onto Hakuho. Svenskeren in the back line, there to deliver to Galio. There's the hero's entrance onto Apollo. GoldenGlue grabs the shutdown, and Cloud9's comp finally comes to life. Perfect execution too. Takes down Fenix, and Cloud9 have slain both carries.
Huge fight there. Again, it's Svenskeren getting into the back line. They find the carries. Echo Fox was not ready for that fight. They were not set up as 5 members. Solo wasn't with them. And Rush just kind of wandered forward, got jumped onto. He had to use all his engage tools in retreat, and then Cloud9 just poured in and really took advantage.
Very well executed fight there for Cloud9, so let's watch it again.
Yeah, so here this is one more time. They're staying in the side rush. They push Echo Fox back as Rush is forced to retreat. Into that shroud goes GoldenGlue. Svenskeren straight into the back line, immuning the Braum ultimate with his ultimate. He's been so good using this Rek'Sai. The follow-up was there from Zeyzal. They pile onto the carries, are able to take them down just before Apollo had his flash coming back up. So a great fight and a great timing there for C9, but they need to find more fights like that.
Apollo building in towards the GA, has a stopwatch here as well, and the flash you mentioned has also come back up, so will not be that easy next time around.
It is worth mentioning, though, closing in on death cap is GoldenGlue. He's almost 16. There is no MR on Apollo whatsoever. So if Akali can get on top of that Jinx, you can absolutely destroy that guy. Fenix as well, you know, not building any health, not building any MR. So those are people that are very susceptible to getting 100-0 from the Akali. But it is about the execution. It is about, can GoldenGlue actually close that gap? Can he get on top of the carries? Because if not, they're going to put out tremendous amounts of damage. And likewise, it's true for Sneaky. I mean, he's on 3 items here as well, but the range is somewhat of an issue for Vayne. Sometimes it can be difficult to actually navigate these fights against a longer range champion like the Jinx, who has not only rocket form, but even rapid fire to throw a crit in overhead.
Right now, GoldenGlue is pushing in the top lane. Needs a little bit more gold to get that death cap. This does give Fox room on the right-hand side, so they will finish off the Ocean and equalize. Sorry, Mountain and equalize on Drakes. C9, of course, are on the Baron half of the map as a result, but Blue Orb there from Fox knows that the Baron has not been started yet. Perhaps another flank on the mines here for Cloud9, but turret set up there by Fenix will help them kind of keep control of this area temporarily.
Yeah, Cloud9 is going to have someone clearing out that mini wave, though, as was pretty big in the mid lane, and they are going to leave Licorice there to do it. Solo, for now, is up on the top side. May need to eventually group up with his team, because we can see Echo Fox is having some trouble walking in, and they're actually split up. The carries for Echo Fox are separate from the rest of the team, so they have to be very careful here.
Yep, there's a jump in from Rush, so trying to get the fight started first on their terms. Into the back there for Solo with a Hemo Plague, but it's a fight on 2 fronts as GoldenGlue pops the stasis just in time to not die. Gets over, but shut down still by Solo as Licorice will get chased down by Fenix and killed as well. This wasn't enough for Cloud9 as Fox started the fight and grabbed 2 kills.
Yep, and it's straight on to Baron here. It's up to Svenskeren. He's got to be the hero, you have to think. Sneaky, no ultimate, no flash. Zeyzal, no flash. Svenskeren does have his flash, but he is spotted out very soon here, likely by Fenix, who has seen him and may take him down.
Scoops him over. GA is going to be lost, and I think the life will be lost as well. There's a Baron over for Fox. Svenskeren goes down. And once again, Echo Fox in the driver's seat.
Yep, bad goes to worse here for Cloud9 as it's the shutdown onto the hyper carry Azir here. They grab another Baron buff for themselves. They will reset and complete more major items. You have to expect 4th item, yep, GA now completed. You can see Zeke's plus Knight's Vow online for the Braum, so double support items going to be there to enable this super powerful Jinx. And here it is one more time. You know, it was a good attempt as the carries were split off, but Rush comes back in. The Shroud is down for Akali, which makes it difficult for her to get into the back line. And Solo, just on top of 3 members, just absolutely shredding them. Solo zoning multiple members, while in the meantime, Licorice's ultimate gets popped, he gets knocked down, and they're not able to kind of hang in that fight long term. It is Echo Fox now grouped up. Another item, again, coming through here for Fenix. He finishes a big one. Cloud9 are really up against it, despite the gold lead not being that big. If you are forced to 5v5 against this team, it needs to be something incredible.
Nice interrupt there from Svenskeren, but as you mentioned, Fox are just enforcing their will onto Cloud9 with this Baron buff. Cloud9 can't really do anything other than clear the waves and try and find some sort of flank or pick off. And that generally means having to fight a 5v5 fight versus this team.
And that's why Baron buff is so powerful for these teamfight comps, because sieging becomes so much easier when you're forcing your opponent to respond. Wave clear is not a simple matter against these Baron buff minions, so they are going to be trying to push up here, get these minion waves going. You can see on the mini-map, this flank is trying to be set up. Svenskeren and you can see alongside GoldenGlue walking over behind them. They're trying to come in behind. They're trying to find the right angle because they know you can't take a front-to-back fight. You need to be back on those carries, but with GA, with Banshees available, they've spotted out on wards, it's going to be really hard, and Rush and Hakuho are positioning themselves to intercept any potential flank.
And now Cloud9 just have two of their teammates cut off.
Yep.
And Apollo's shooting the turret there with rockets. I mean, Rush again going to keep them out of the way. Solo also just throwing transfusions out where he can, so it's effectively 3v3 at a disadvantage for C9, so that turret's going to fall. Apollo just moves forward in minigun form to shoot down the inhibitor. And that's it, Fox take it.
They can just keep going towards the Nexus. I mean, Cloud9 are out of position to actually defend this. They have no wave clear. Cloud9 needs to choose a fight or the game is just going to end. We'll see if they can find it.
Final hour pop there for Sneaky. Svenskeren in the back. There's a good Galio off, but I don't know if they can get enough here. Svenskeren in the backside is Fenix. Able to get that kill onto Rek'Sai. Fox may just be too strong, but Sneaky still alive, shooting in the fight, but needs to get the kills on key members. Solo living for a little while longer. Fenix still alive as Sneaky. Tries to dodge around it. Fenix able to grab the quadra kill, and that's going to give Fox the victory.
The carries stand strong for Echo Fox, and they will upset Cloud9 here.
The 6-game slide finally ends as they pick up a victory. Rush back in the lineup, Fenix back in Azir.
It's the return of the kind boy, and Cloud9 will fall down to him. Echo Fox grabbing a much-needed win on a huge slide, their first win of the second half of the split, trying to fight for that playoff spot. This was a big one, and these carries for Echo Fox were so huge. They picked so much scaling, and Cloud9, you have to look at that one fight before the first Baron. Zeyzal re-engaging, getting caught out, everyone from Cloud9 trying to bail them out, all going in and dying, losing that Baron. That felt like the pivotal moment of the game where you allowed Echo Fox to reach that late game stage, and they certainly made him pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9 had some flashes of brilliance there with their engages, tried to make their comp work. It was cool, like a lot of Cloud9 comps are, but not enough to withstand the onslaught after that mistake in the mid game. Fox were like, okay, it's not going so badly, we can scale up, and then it went very well, and from there it just felt like they never really relinquished control.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, credit especially to the carries on the Echo Fox side, because not only did they do so well in the late game fights, but they were laning quite well also, right? Solo trading back and forth admirably with Licorice. Apollo and Fenix both had CS advantages over their lane opponents, with these scaling matchups. And I think that, this was an intelligent draft here from Echo Fox, and they were able to execute well on it. Cloud9, I think they had trouble really getting involved with their carries. You saw how much more difficulty there was for Licorice, GoldenGlue, and Sneaky to really get involved.
Certainly was, but Ovally is standing by as to hear more about that upset from the returning Echo Fox jungler.
Thanks, guys. Rush, welcome back, and congratulations. A lot of firsts for Echo Fox this game. First Saturday win, first game back for you, and first win for the second half of the split. So what changed about the team that let you beat Cloud9 today?
First, I was here, so that's the main difference.
That's it? Just you coming back?
Yeah.
Rush is the missing puzzle piece. Now, what did you really do with your time when you were off of the main roster and spending a little bit of time with Academy?
I wanted to figure out maybe what we are excel at and what we are bad at by playing Academy roster, because every player has own strong point or like weakness. So maybe I could pick those up, and I found what I was lacking at or something.
What were you lacking?
I think communication skill, maybe. Yeah.
Well, now that you're back in action, back with Echo Fox, and maybe polished up on some of those communication skills, are you confident that you could take the rest of the split?
I think we're gonna play against 100 Thieves and TL and CLG. I think we can beat all of those, so.
You heard it here from him. Rush, thank you, and congratulations again. And for more on the game, let's hear from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Ovally and Rush. The missing puzzle piece, apparently.
He solved it all.
This is the first time he's won on Saturday all year, but now their 1-in-1 week has been started at the beginning of it, so no big problems there, making it for lost time, I suppose. Pretty crazy result, though, honestly. I don't think anyone at all expected EchoFox to win this one. They were in last place, and obviously looked very, very good, but what a turnaround.
They team fought really well with the late game compositions. I think Solo and Fenix did an outstanding job when they came to the zones that Azir and Vladimir can create, and just leave so much room for the Jinx to do her own thing, but at the same time, if you forget about Azir and Vlad, you're gonna get wiped.
Yeah, it's a tough team to fight against, too, because almost everyone on that team wants to dive in. The Akali, the Rek'Sai, the Aatrox can all go on your back line. Galio then comes up over the top. And vayne, usually the person you want to kill, is now left to kind of usually free fire at your front line because you're so busy peeling all this dive that's coming in your way.
Right, and they were doing really well early game, too. Cloud9 was up 4-0 in kills, or 3-0 rather, and a pretty good gold lead. And then a huge one blunder led the entire game going to EchoFox's favor after that.
Yeah, it's very interesting, like in the draft, you can kind of see with the ticker and whatnot, like the vayne was picked on very, very early, but you can see this fight right here, and it was called out in the replay. Live, but yeah, that jumped forward. But the willingness for everyone to kill themselves afterwards.
Sneaky still had flash, so he could have gotten out of this, but they're just like, no, you know what, 2v4 it. Okay, 2v4 again, and...
What do you guys think? Do you think he had his mouse in the wrong way and he accidentally ate it, or did he actually want to engage?
I think he wanted to, and then halfway through flying, he saw the trap, like, crud.
The immediate regret.
Yeah.
And to be fair to GoldenGlue, I think going in here is more of the right play. Take advantage of that situation where hopefully some cooldowns are down. If you pick off Apollo and maybe another member, you can stop the Baron from dropping.
No, let him feed, and then you come in and clean up the Baron with all the glory.
Because he's coming, he's ulting it, and then he gets a Azir ulti. He's like, what? Azir still has ulti?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? So then he's surprised, and then sad times.
Yeah, I'm still saying I would like that he went in to try and proactively stop the Baron versus like, I'll wait till they start Baron, and then all 5 of them are prepared to peel off onto the one threat.
Honestly, he should have been looking to see that Azir had ult, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's on him. And honestly, you talk about Azir, I mean, what a great game for Fenix, though. Like, quadra kill for Fenix on Azir is still a good, old-time call back when he was crushing on Team Liquid back in the day. And here he is back on what I consider a very signature pick for him. And 7, 2, and 4, the guy popped off every team fight.
Right. I mean, he got a quadra, right? And it's so reminiscent of his old Azir days where he'd spawn a turret, people try to dive him, and he just outplays them in the tower. And it's pretty crazy that his Azir is still this good.
Yeah, it happened in the Svenskeren play. Sven took a Rek'Sai ult too far and suddenly had to blow flash and stopwatch to get out of there. So it was a small number of plays leading up to that eventual big quadra kill.
Yeah, so then we have the sort of second big team fight that EchoFox run, that they win for themselves here as we pull this one up. And it's really a very chaotic fight as we go in. And you can see as the team kites back, look where EchoFox are. They're all together back in the jungle.
Right, so a few things first. C9 is all clumped up right now, and you do not want to be in a position where you have to run at Fox. You need to come from behind. So this fight, they immediately lost if they're going to continue it. And Rush notices that. If you watch him, he literally has to flash ulti over and start this fight. Because he's like, oh, this fight is perfect for our team, despite how far away Solo is. So if you play it out, you'll see that C9 starts running away, and Rio's like, okay, we can't run away anymore. So they try to dive onto Apollo, but little do they know, he has a stopwatch and he's staying alive. While Solo's on the other side, 1v3ing the rest of the team, there's just no way that C9 can win the fight with the way this started.
Yeah, so look at Solo in the bottom left here on Vladimir. He's 1v3, GoldenGlue, Sneaky, and Zeyzal all near him, while it's like the 4v2 on the other side of the fight. So next little bit, as the stopwatch ends, pay attention to Solo. He buys so much time.
Right. The MVP of this fight is definitely the stopwatch buy from Apollo. If he did not have that, he definitely would have died here, and then maybe this fight would have been something different. Or at the very least, it might have not been a Baron. But this was a terrible fight for C9 to take, and I feel like they're feeling desperate here.
They should have pressed tab, though. This happened twice already, right? Against Team Liquid, where Licorice does not check that. Jensen has stopwatch, goes for a play, overextends, makes a massive blunder. Same thing here again. They said, okay, go for it, as opposed to just cutting their losses, because even losing the GA, the bounty on Svenskeren, it's just the ice cream on the cake.
I think it's tough to know what to do, though, in that situation for C9, though, because if Rush goes to this hard engage, brute force the fight, you can't fight front to back versus Jinx and Azir. You're going to lose that fight. So their only option is realistically counter engage. And at that point, the problem has already manifested in that you're already grouped up as 5 around a Baron. That's not how your comp wins.
And two of the big problems, though, is GoldenGlue never got into the fight. He was marked by Vladimir the whole time and got chunked to 10% in a 1v3 against Vladimir. And his Shroud was down because he got caught clearing wards in front of the pit at the very start of that fight. So he can't even reach backline, then invis through the Zonias and like pop back up. There's never a play to be made.
I think part of the problem is that vayne is so new to our meta right now that a lot of players are thinking, okay, vayne's passive, it makes her faster running towards enemies. We should be going in so that Vayne can follow. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
You want them to dive the Vayne. You want her to use the stealth and the tumble, but players and teams seem to be on the idea that Vayne is not your follow champion. Sivir is. If you want to do that, play Sivir.
Sivir, Ezreal, like anyone who could just like toss the ult into the team fight and be like, I'm helping. Like Old Graves is a good version of that one as well. That's the champions who help
I miss that Graves.
I know, like, and a lot of people do, but like those just long range ults that like, look, they're participating as well. That's not Vayne.
Yeah, and to be fair, there were a number of successful team fights where they flanked properly on C9's side. That team fight was one where, like Hai was saying, you're already clumped up as 5, and Rush just flash engages on you. Like, what does your team comp do at that point?
Right.
It goes in.
I definitely feel like C9 was feeling the pressure because when you're pressing tab and looking at the enemy champions, you see a Vladimir, Azir, and a Jinx, and you're like, how do we win this late game, guys? All right, so let's take a fight. And that's good that they take a fight, but they gotta take better fights. You can't have your mid laner getting engaged down and blow his biggest cooldown of the fight.
Yeah, well, end of the day, Echo Fox, a surprising win, but one they needed all the same with CLG winning. They have to keep pace and then still catch back up with them throughout the end of the season. Still a possibility for them. Now up next, TSM and Golden Guardians face off over in Game 4. Don't touch that browser.